Hello, everyone. It's me, Jordyn Smith, the voice and the astrologer behind this YouTube channel, Nonconformist Conscience. I am going to do a quick video because there's something that I see astrologically that I want to talk about for today. And it's interesting because lately, quite a few of the people who have been coming to me have been speaking about this dynamic, and it's in true fashion with the astrology that's going on. So I'm going to share this chart with you all so we can talk a little bit about the aspect that's occurring between Mars and Juno right now. And Juno is in the sign of Virgo and is ruled by Mercury that has passed over Chiron. Mercury and Chiron are ruled by this Mars that is in a dynamic conversation with Juno. And Juno, I've talked a little bit about this archetype, but Juno is where we are wanting to devote and commit ourselves to partnership. Juno is thought to carry and embody the archetypes of Libra and Scorpio, which is naturally semi-sextile to each other, which that creates a bit of tension. It's where one's will and values and needs are needing to merge with another's, and the tension that happens whenever the merging takes place. But Juno can really be where, in a distorted version, through our conditioning, where we overly devote ourselves to partnership that's actually not based in the natural law of giving, sharing, and inclusion. And Juno in anyone's chart is going to speak to our committed partnerships and facilitate in the development of how we commit ourselves to another. So right now with Venus in the sign of Taurus, there has been this focus on the development of our inner relationship to self. This is coming after the Taurus new moon that, I did the video earlier this week about that. This is this new evolutionary cycle that's underway where we're needing to really reconnect with our own unique individuality right now. And this is further emphasized by, not only was that new moon ruled by Venus in Taurus, so there's a double signature there, but also Venus in Taurus is ruling Jupiter, Uranus, and the sign of Taurus. So if you've been on here, you're someone who has been watching these videos for quite some time, you know that we are in a evolutionary process to really connect with what feels unique about ourselves, to fortify our relationship to self, to expand upon our relationship to self, to ground within our relationship to self, to understand what it means to be self-reliant on an emotional, physical, temporal, spiritual way. And it is really about connecting with what feels authentic for us as this is developing. That's part of Jupiter still in a new phase conjunction to Uranus. We're in this process of really liberating from the old ways we've identified with conditioned values. And now we are in this period of starting a new evolutionary cycle of understanding what feels authentic to our nature and our unique individuality as a way to strengthen and fortify our relationship to self. But there's this dynamic with the South Node in Libra being ruled by this Venus and Taurus. So many of us right now are wanting to reconnect with our individuality, of where maybe we've lost sight of ourselves or we've experienced extremes, stemming from our own emotional dynamics and being confronted with it in each one of our personal one-on-one relationships. Juno in the sign of Virgo that she's transiting right now is really about cultivating this self-improvement around if we're trying to ground back into our relationship to self and to understand our unique identity, to understand what feels authentic to ourselves. This is so later on, whenever we have relationships or we start a new relationship, whether it be a friendship or an intimate other, we can really understand what it means to be a companion who's rooted in giving, sharing, and inclusion, meaning that we're also attracting people who have the same values as ourselves. That's so much about what this Taurus energy is understanding, what do I value? What do I need? How can I meet myself where I'm at right now? That way, Uranus and Taurus helps to liberate us from old crystallized dynamics, old ways of thinking, but also it changes our inner magnetism and vibration. So we call in our community, we call in those who resonate with our frequency and our values and our needs. That way we can establish relationships that are based in equity. But Juno right now is really facilitating this process. So for those that are single or are newly single, there is this self-improvement underway. And I want to pull up this chart for you all to see this. Right now, Juno in Virgo is in an inconjunct to Mars. And Mars is approaching that north node, okay? And there's already a natural inconjunct that occurs within the signs of Virgo and Aries. And I've spoken about this. In order to Virgo self-improve and to understand yourselves through self-improvement, we need to create action so we can receive feedback, so then we can assimilate that information on an internal level in order to self-improve. Juno right now in this conversation with Mars is about really breaking free of these old patterns of where we've experienced habituations on an emotional and psychological level within our relationships, where we've committed to certain partnerships that really weren't versed or based in equity, that were based in us submitting. And Virgo is the sign of the Virgin. Virgin, the etymology of that is for one to stay whole into themselves. I just had a beautiful conversation with one of my astrology friends about this, but particularly, I'm going to pull this chart back up in a second, but particularly for women right now, with all of this Venusian energy that is based in the reintegration of the feminine, this Taurus principle happening. Virgo, whenever it is naturally expressed, not only is it about staying whole into oneself, but it's also knowing that we don't need someone to complete us. Think about the South Node of Libra and how codependency and enmeshment can be a distortion of that archetype. When we think about our conditioning on a societal level, how many of us have been taught that in order to be whole, we have to find the ideal partner to complete us? We're only half of a human, half of a soul, and the delusional belief within that ideal. And so part of this Juno and Virgo in conjunct Mars and Aries, and this is a full phase in conjunct, is about self-improving upon how we commit ourselves to others, how we've committed ourselves to others in the past. What were those patterns? What did they look like for you? Did crisis happen because maybe you denied what was going on, or you made excuses, or you only wanted to see the best, and so it created some type of extreme in a Libra-like way? The other dynamic that I want to speak to is that Juno is ruled by Mercury, that is still in a new phase conjunction to Chiron. It's still in its post-shadow period. It's at, I will share this screen. It's at 23 degrees, so it's roughly 4 degrees away from where it's stationed retrograde. So there's this process of us understanding what it's coming into a new awareness around our wounds. And with Chiron and Aries, there can be this wound around needing to prove oneself, right? You feel less than, or someone's not seeing you correctly, and your self-worth could be wrapped up in how you're being of value to another, or how another sees you. And so there can be these deep wounds around needing to prove oneself. But Virgo here is saying that you are already complete. And this in conjunct between Juno and Virgo with Mars and Aries as it's approaching the North Node, Mars ruling Mercury, Juno's ruler, and Chiron and that North Node is really symbolically reflecting that we are changing our awareness. We're having insights into these dynamics of where maybe we've given our authority over, or we've submitted to something, or we've bought into a delusional value that in order to be of value, we have to prove ourselves in some way. And as Mars approaches this North Node, we are really being called to understand these old patterns so that way we can initiate and create new patterns as Mars passes over the North Node. Keeping in mind that Juno's polarity point is 7 degrees Pisces, ruled by Neptune at 29 degrees. That is the anaretic degree. That can be massive amounts of tension at an anaretic degree. Anything at an anaretic degree, it's wanting to move forward, but it has to dot I's and cross T's before it can. And so with Juno in conjunct Mars and a full phase in conjunct, we are really looking at how we are meant to self-improve upon where we've bought into delusive ideals about what a relationship or a partnership or how we're meant to commit ourselves is, and to really release these old patterns and old beliefs and old values and old needs as a way to remember that we are already whole into ourselves. Remember, so much of Jupiter right now in the sign of Taurus and a new phase conjunction to Uranus is really about this liberation process from false beliefs about ourselves. A false belief in this kind of situation, these dynamics that can be coming up around these Chironian wounds are, I have to prove myself because I'm only of value or of worth if I'm able to prove myself to another. If I am able to do for them, getting our value from an externalized source. I'm not complete or whole into myself unless I have a partner who values me. And Juno in the sign of Virgo right now is really shifting our awareness and teaching us that actually our relationship to self is more important than anything right now. And this is really reflected in the natural trine between Virgo and Taurus. We are meant to self-improve upon our relationship to self. We are meant to, Juno, commit to this so we can break old patterns and old cycles, Mars and Aries. As Mercury, Juno's ruler, is reaching the 27 degree mark of where it stationed retrograde, we are really coming into awareness and learning deeply about ourselves and these types of dynamics right now. And so if you have these types of dynamics surfacing, I want us to think about how Juno in the sign of Virgo is about really committing to ourselves right now and to self-improve upon this function of understanding that we are already whole into ourselves. We are already complete. We don't need to externalize any type of value. Any type of value. If you're someone who has a lot of Libra or Taurus in their chart, this can really be coming up for you right now. And so I wanted to speak about this as a way to hopefully validate that you're on the right track and to really just remember that Juno and Virgo is helping us to change our awareness around these wounds that are more of conditioned wounds. Like they're not conditioned wounds, but they're wounds that have proceeded because of our conditioning. And with Juno's polarity point in Pisces ruled by that Neptune, and Neptune is also Saturn's ruler, this is about restructuring our reality and our consciousness and how we really view ourselves. And there's this need to really tap into this. I can't tell you how many clients I've had lately who have been experiencing massive amounts of inner self-criticism and judgment, and talking to me and speaking to me about this. And I feel extremely honored that those of you who have come to me and have been vulnerable and spoken about this, I really appreciate that. And I truly feel honored. I want to keep emphasizing to everyone that perfection is an illusion. There is no such thing as a perfect relationship. An ideal relationship is an illusion. All we can do is ground into ourselves right now, and the people that we attract, we can have discernment around who we want to share ourselves with and whom we are not willing to share ourselves with anymore. And to remember to really stay whole into ourselves, that we, on a collective level, there is this need to heal the masculine and the feminine. And that's why there's this nodal axis going on, and all of this Taurus energy is men have feminine energy within them, and they need to be taught and to understand that it is okay to connect with your pure emotion. And women need to understand that it is okay to understand their masculine energy, that it is okay to experience anger or rage when you haven't been heard or listened to. And I can't tell you how many women I have who come to me who feel crazy and who repress their anger. I see men who repress their anger as well. And this is about really committing to understanding that we are already whole. We have masculine and feminine that resides within us, and it's about healing this through self-improving upon it, through merging the two. And to know that we don't need anyone to complete us. So I just wanted to jump on here and talk about this for a little bit. I will probably do another video tomorrow or the next day. And I want everyone to remember that, yes, I'm still doing until the 20th. If you are a Taurus, you can do the birthday special. And on the 20th, that's going to end. And then Geminis, it will be your turn. I also have a 5-week workshop that I posted a promo video for. It's only open to a couple more people. And it's over 10 hours worth of content that you're going to be getting, because I will record every single one of our classes. You will have that. You will get the PDF of the slides. You will get a worksheet. This is a really hands-on experience. So if you have somewhat of a foundation in astrology and you're wanting to understand your own conditioning and how that overlaps with people in your own family, this is a great workshop. I'm really excited for it. And I just want, again, I say this often, let's be gentle and kind to ourselves as we are in this process of really healing right now and reconnecting with understanding that we are already whole and we don't need anyone to complete us. I've just felt like I really needed to speak about this because I've had so many people, male and female, and non-binary, come through my doors lately talking and speaking about this dynamic, and it's really being reflected in the astrology. So until the next time, I will see you all later and have a beautiful evening.